You will not believe who the first self-made female millionaire was in America, but I'll tell you. Her name was Madam C.J. Walker, and she was actually born Sarah Breedlove. She was born to two previous slaves. She was the youngest of six kids, and when she was about 6 years old, her mom actually passed away. And when she was seven, her dad passed away. So she ended up moving in with her sister and brother in law and started working by the age of 10 years old. She wanted to escape abuse from her brother in law, and so when she was 14 years old, she ended up marrying a guy. And we don't know what his age was at the time, but she was 14. Her husband ended up passing away when she was 20 years old, leaving her a single mom to a 2-year-old daughter. She was born in Louisiana, but she ended up moving to St. Louis, Missouri, where she started a business with hair care stuff for African American hair. She started all this with a $1.25 investment, and when she started making money and becoming a little bit successful, she actually moved to Indiana. She ended up having at least 40,000 employees, most of which were women, and she used her business to promote activism. She encouraged her sales agents to speak out on political issues and organize for causes like anti-lynching legislation, and she rewarded her employees that made donations in their communities. This all obviously stemmed from her childhood and struggles and being an orphan, but by the time that she actually became somewhat successful, her motivation was to be able to afford her daughter to have an education. And at the time, CJ only had like 3 months of formal education. She used her wealth for the common good of people. She trained over 20,000 women in sales and hair care and opened salons in multiple states and places. And after her death, it even went international. She was a Christian, and that really inspired her philanthropism. Is that a word? Her being a philanthropist. And she made a donation to the NAACP for anti-lynching campaigns of $5,000, which in 2023 would have been equivalent to $88,000. She also attended a protest after a massacre in St. Louis, Missouri, and it was a silent protest in New York City to get the president's attention. She really advocated for Black women's independence and women's independence in general, and taught classes on how to manage money, how to start businesses, and really wanted freedom for everyone. And I think this is a very important piece of the story, is that she really fought for the anti-lynching movement, and it's not because she was actively involved or targeted in one of these things, but because by being not only a Black woman or just an American, she had empathy for the people in St. Louis where she previously lived. The massacre happened after she didn't live there, and she still knew it was wrong and didn't just be quiet about it. She donated to schools and multiple organizations and even paid and funded some kids' tuition to schools. And she knew the importance of education. She died in 1919 at the age of 51. And I just want to put this into perspective that I'm 30. My great-grandma was born in 1918, and I had a good relationship with her. I remember her very vividly. So for C.J. Walker to have passed away in 1919 just shows how recent in history this actually is. So she died, and her company actually continued to run until the 1980s, and she pledged in her will to have 2/3 of her net worth donated to charities. I won't lie, before I picked this story to be the one told, I wanted to so badly come on here and really dog on millionaires and billionaires and how greedy and corrupt our whole nation is. I have to put a little bit of this on here because I forgot to. I'm not a makeup guru, I'm just a girl. Anyway, back to my story. Instead of doing stories on people that I absolutely can't stand and setting the example of what not to do, I learned a long time ago that what you want, you need to focus on. You need to focus on what you want, and so that it manifests bigger and bigger. So here's my first story about a woman, the first millionaire woman, and not only the first millionaire woman in America, but the first black millionaire woman in America, which is part of American history. Amen. And I just really don't want to forget moments in time where people accumulated wealth and then contributed to other people and the greater good of humanity. And just a little personal fun fact that I discovered yesterday is that if everybody in America had to give up or donate or contribute everything past $10 million that they had in a personal account, that there would be $10 trillion left over just in America. And there would at least be 1 million people in America that had over $10 million. So just let that sink in. So if you liked my story and would like me to do any more or have any suggestions on who to do next, please let me know. And I am just so tired of corporate greed and people thinking that poor people are the enemy when are we watching the same world? Like, are we actively watching the same stuff? If we can't agree that it's the rich against everyone else,